what is the Idris?
It's a big bloody spaceship. The Idris for me was almost like the second stepping stone of 100% belief that we could make this project a reality. We took the concept off Ryan Church many, many years ago. I think it was one of the first ones that got developed for the game. Huge undertaking across the board. And when I first saw that taking off in that demo with the crew on board, it was a true sort of like, okay, we can do this, we can deliver on the promise that Chris had envisioned, several years before.
The Idris is a frigate used by the UAE Navy, but it was also available to civilians in a sort of wide range of specifications.
It's one of the more sought-after ships that people have wanted to use in the universe for just one of the longest times at this point.
It has enough crew and provisions on board to support long-duration patrols. It has plenty of armament to defend itself and attack aggressors, and hangars on board for a wide range of ships. There are multiple versions of the Idris, the most popular being the Idris P, the P standing for Peacekeeper. This is the civilianized version of the Idris. It trades some of the prior military assets for increased cargo storage. At its core, it is essentially a flying hangar with all the crew facilities around that.
What's very good at, though, is killing things.
It starts with a front upper manned turret, which is size 5. This is swappable, which we'll talk about in a bit. Then there are 7 additional size 5 turrets spread across the top and bottom of the ship.
These are perfect for dealing with mid-sized targets and give you fantastic coverage across the whole ship from all the different angles they could approach you from.
Whilst they are lasers by default, you can swap them to a wide variety of other weapons in the game.
But that's not all the firepower that the ship has to offer. It also has 4 remote turrets, which are size 4, which are a little bit better at dealing with more agile fighters.
So at this point in the game, you are looking at having a minimum of 12 people on an Idris P to fully crew just the weapons.
So make sure you've got plenty of friends to tag along.
Obviously, flying a ship this big with this much armament makes yourself a big target, and for that reason, the Idris comes with 11 point defense system hardpoints. These are the exact same point defense system weapons that you've seen on ships like the Polaris and 890 Jump. For those of you lucky enough to have an Idris M, it comes with a number of key differences that improve the Idris P. Primarily, it comes with a size 10 railgun, default equipped on the nose.
Now, anyone that's taken part in any of the Idris missions and been unlucky enough to fly past it just as that shot goes off, you all know how devastating that can be when it hits.
The upper front turret is upgunned to a size 7 turret. The cargo room is replaced by the missile launcher, and it has increased armor over the base Idris P. But it does lose the lower rear man turret for all these other changes, so it's not perfect. For those Idris P owners who want a bit more bite to their Idris and missed out on getting an Idris M, we do offer 2 ways to sort of improve your Idris P: the Idris K kit and the Idris T kit.
This is a kit. It's not a whole Idris.
They are simply Idris M's or P's with additional items swapped out in their loadout.
It's parts. I can't... The amount of times
Because it often gets confused, and it has been over the years.
that I've had to remind people there isn't an Idris K.
There is no such thing as an Idris T variant.
It's an aftermarket kit. Anyway,
The Idris K kit comes with a bunch of new items that can be applied to the Idris. Primarily, there is the size 10 laser beam that goes in place of the railgun.
the beam is one of the first real beam weapons that we've added to the game. Obviously, you've got the mining laser, but this is an actual weaponized version of it. And if anything gets in its way, it's going to quickly wish that it hadn't. The next item in the kit is a size 7 manned missile turret, which replaces the front turret of the Idris.
It also comes with 5 additional PDS weapon systems to help fill the additional slots on the P, and a cool black and red paint. The new Idris T kit is a companion to the K kit, and it sort of takes your Idris in a less weapon focus and putting it into more of a torpedo and ordnance focus.
So the first thing is a new nose-mounted weapon. A set of size 12 torpedoes, a total of 20 of them, that fire out of 4 fire ports. Now obviously, that's a lot of torpedoes. And for anyone that watched one of our more recent CitizenCons, here's a message back for Elwyn. F*** the Polaris.
The views and opinions of Mark Gibson do not represent those of Cloud Imperium Games, Roberts Space Industries, or its subsidiaries. They do represent Jared Huckabees, though.
The top turret is an alternate size 7 bespoke ballistic cannon turret.
Which is going to add some serious firepower.
The last piece is 5 additional PDS systems. These ones fire missiles rather than energy weapons.
In addition to that, this also comes with another unique skin you've never seen before.
If you look at the layout of the ship, including the exterior from the top down, there is no space conserved. It's packed. One of the most impressive spaces on the Idris is the main hangar. This is the center of operations. It's where you come and go, where you land your ship.
You've got everything that you need, plenty of space.
You can see space for offboarding cargo. It's got ramps for bringing in and out of equipment. The bridge is quite special.
I like the fact that it's almost a sort of glass house in space, full views all the way around.
You have this sense of importance, like you're commanding the vessel. The corridors, they're like the connective tissue of the ship. They're bold, they have a really distinct profile to them. You've got these white, clean floors that you could imagine some janitor kind of polishing up constantly. It really feels believable. The mess hall is quite municipal, quite utilitarian. It's not the most extravagant space. I just like how tangible it is. The bunks have a very strong nautical, almost submariner type feel to them. Another space I really enjoy is the engine room. It feels like a nuclear reactor. The theme with the ship is everything is functional and military. You get the impression that everything was designed for a purpose and space was at a premium.
The Idris has been a ship people have been waiting for ages, and it means something different to everyone, and how everyone's going to use it is really down to them.
So what's the deal here? I thought we weren't going to release this until Squadron came out.
As Squadron has developed and the Idris has been in the PU in various guises for quite some time now, it's been quite clear internally that the two versions are very different things now. And it's not going to be a spoiler for Squadron. Now, even after this ship releases, it's still going to evolve further.
We've still got lots in the pipe that we want to bring to the ship for Squadron, and hopefully it will trickle through to you guys in the PU as and when we're ready to release it.
So now we're really excited to release the Idris to the PU, and it's going to make lots of people super happy that it is finally here in the game.
We couldn't do it without the teams across the board. Artists, VFX artists, lighting artists, physics, code, narrative. There's so many departments and people involved in bringing such a beast to life. Yeah, it's a big undertaking, so congrats.
Day 96. This is it. The breakthrough I knew would happen. The specimen holds answers far beyond their comprehension. Even the infants serve my purpose. They need an end to the regen crisis, and I will deliver it, despite my colleagues' protests. That is why I am essential. Where they see life, my mind sees the design. The data locked in flesh that must be harvested. Science will not cower to moralistic fear. Progress requires clarity, not sentiment. To discover is to survive. To evolve is to rule. Once again, they put their future in the hands of science, yet still refuse to trust its judgment, its results. It's my responsibility to push forward. I must. I will save us all.
For me.
Seriously, Spock is the only one you can mention.
Yes. On top of my head right now, yes.
We've asked you to mention 5 Star Trek characters, and all you can do is Spock.
Why does this have to start with a roast already? Like, is it special enough?
No, put the camera on him. He's the one.
This is not your failure. It's Rich's failure, right?
I definitely take responsibility for this. Okay?
No, the why.
Yeah.
Jeez. You got to show the person who doesn't know Star Trek. Oh. You're not showing the person who doesn't know Star Trek. Yogi knows Star Trek. Go to Yogi. Spock is literally the only character you can mention.
Can we talk about Star Wars, maybe? I'm more educated.
Okay, fine. Name 5 Star Wars characters.
Anakin, Obi-Wan, Mace Windu, Yoda, Darth Vader.
Okay, now...
he's a prequel Star Wars.
Okay, now something outside of the prequels.
Outside of the prequels,
Come on, 3 of them more.
Luke, Han Solo, Leila.
Leila?
How's the princess name in English?
Leia.
Leila,
Okay.
It's
That's fine. Princess Leila works.
I'm just going to Jared's face here.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Star Citizen Live. The Passion of Matteo Monticelli. I'm your host, Jared Huckabee, and if you've never seen Star Citizen Live before, what a lucky person you are. That's where we take roughly about an hour, sometimes a little bit less, out of an occasional week these days, to sit down with our developers and chat things related to Star Citizen, or Star Trek, or Star Wars. What other stars are you not familiar with? Starman? You ever seen Starman?
No.
That.
I know something about Star Citizen, though. That can help.
Well, hopefully. We're going to find out. So joining us on the show this week are esteemed members of our the team members who work on all things spaceships and what they do. These aren't the folks who build the spaceships. Those are members of our fantastic vehicle teams who build the physical spaceships. These are the folks who take those spaceships and craft them and hone them and adjust them so that they perform the way that we want them across both of our games, Star Citizen and Squadron 42. With that, let's introduce some folks, because every show is somebody's first show, including one of our guests. So Yogi, we're going to start with you. You're our old hand here. Tell everybody who you are and what you do for Star Citizen.
I'm an old hand. Okay, I'm Yogi. I'm a principal vehicle programmer, and roughly together with Rich, I'm leading the development of the flight model and the flight experience.
Okay, and for those people who may be hearing that term for the first time, what's a flight model?
Flight model is basically the thing that makes the ship fly the way it flies. So how smooth it is, how janky, sometimes how broken, but yeah, stuff like that.
Okay. Rich?
So I'm basically Richard, and I'm the lead game designer on the vehicle experience team. So I'm kind of responsible, Yogi, for the overall flight experience, turrets, just the way the general gameplay works with vehicles.
I noticed you hid your last name so people can't send you letters.
Yes.
Okay. This is Rich Tyrer sitting here.
Right, I'm going to start making loads of decisions now.
Okay. And last but certainly not least, first timer for SCL, Matteo.
Hey yo, I'm Mattia. I'm a game designer 3, working with Richard on everything flight, spaceship balance related, mostly for Star Citizen these days. And yeah, that's what we do.
All right. So as we want to do on Star Citizen Live, we put a thread up on Spectrum where this one, so I'm talking to the people, we put a thread up on Spectrum and collected questions from you, the Star Citizen community. Our lovely folks here went through your questions and pulled a collection of them that they felt they could answer best during the course of today's show. So if you've submitted your question, you're like, well, why aren't they talking about this and why aren't they talking about that? Usually what that means is either we don't have the particular guest that's on to talk about that, because we certainly wouldn't want Yogi talking about stuff he's not involved in, or Mateo or Rich, or that's a feature aspect that is not currently in development. The other big kind of misperception in games is that you work on all the things all at the same time. We don't. So the questions that we're going to talk about today are primarily the things that are currently in active development and that relate to the work of these 3 individuals. So right off the bat, we'll just jump right in. Yo, Jared, looking healthy as... Oh, thank you, Boomish.
True.
Thought it was my mom at first. What is the intended purpose for heavy fighters? Right now, they have a turn rate very similar to ships like the Connie and Corsair, but they lack the shields and firepower of those. What's up?
So, this is a question for me, yes. We have been playing with heavy fighter tuning since 3.23, basically the master mode release, and our idea about the heavy fighter role hasn't changed much throughout the time. So basically, what we think an heavy fighter is basically heavier fighter that has lower maneuverability compared to light fighters, but increased durability and increased firepower. That's as simple as that, right? Currently, we have retuned the entire heavy fighter class that includes ships like the F8, the New Guardian, the other Guardians, and so on and so forth, to fit a better spot. And in our opinion, the spot that now the heavy fighters actually cover, it's quite fine. We do notice that the heavy fighter class is slightly underperforming right now, though, but we think it's related more to the relationship in between cross classes rather than the heavy fighters tuning per se. So stuff, for example, like how the heavy fighter is dealing against like a medium fighter, for example, or a shipper of a bigger size, like for example a Constellation or stuff like that. So we would like to dive more into the tuning for other classes first before assessing the the overall heavy fighter tuning, and if that need to be addressed once again. So currently, this is the state of the heavy fighter class in general, but we have some even more updates or like more ideas for the
more updates.
Model,
so the current ratio on where the fighters sit doesn't necessarily need to stay this way. We have the updated flight model coming, and we're using that to basically, I wouldn't say reset, but reevaluate especially the relationships between the fighters. For example, in our perspective at the moment, with the updated flight model, the heavy fighters, they just feel a little bit too tanky because they're still fighters, right? So we're currently evaluating whether or not we should make them more vulnerable, because if you compare some numbers from, for example, like Gladius versus a F8, we're looking at like a 5 times health. That is like quite a lot for a fighter class. So we're evaluating or reevaluate that once the new flight model or the updated flight model is coming online.
And when you say evaluate, that means you're still making your decisions.
Yeah, sure. Nothing is ever set in stone when it comes to that.
Yeah. You're asking the question whether that 5 times is right. You're not sitting here saying today 5 times is wrong.
No.
We're still looking at that. And Mattia, you make a good point about how you don't just, in order to tune the heavy fighters or any fighter class or any ship class, it's not just the work on that ship. You then have to make a pass on everything else. It's this constant kind of thing where you go through every class and then you go back through and you go through every class, then you go back through every class, and you just refine the entire field of ships over and over again. And that's where you're going to find out whether 5 times is right, maybe 5 times is right, and then things like the Connie and Cutlass need to go up to 6 or 7 or whatever. It's one of those things you're going to find it through multiple passes, which is what you guys have been doing for some time now, for being candid about it.
I mean, we can never like really set it to a fixed thing. Like we can plan as much as we want, but whether our plans survive then reality is a different question. Also, like sometimes other things coming, for example, the upcoming armor system and so on, that will also change these dynamics and might just require some other adjustments somewhere else.
I imagine your thoughts on these things actually change over time too. Like, how many years have you been here now, Yogi?
8?
Yeah, it's close to me. I'm on 11, and I'm like, I can't remember a time when you weren't here.
I joined 2017, but gameplay since 2019,
Okay.
I think. Yeah.
So I'm certain the way you thought about some of these things in 2017 is not the same as you thought of them in 2020. It's not the same you thought. I'm sure there are some things that are still the same.
Well, yeah,
but
I think details change over time a bit, right? Because sometimes you just prove that A or B doesn't really work. For example, also the idea to have a perfectly balanced game is a bit. This can be. Sure, we can go for this, but it doesn't necessarily need to be that because the relationships of players playing, they're so complex to grasp. The hardest case we have in our combat design is same skill, same pilot, same skill, same ship. To get a fight going in a 1v1 scenario without any other external factors. This is like when you get this one right, then you probably have something that you can really work with. But it's hard to actually get to that thing because even if you have two really good pro players fighting against each other, it's hard to tell which one of these is better. I mean, you can maybe count kill times or so, but there's so many factors and that's sometimes hard to grasp. So I'm not entirely sure that we need a completely balanced game because ships are different, like people are different, real world airplanes are different, have pros and cons and so on, but you can never really balance them out completely, right? So we'll see.
Well, you've just given people their first Reddit thread. We start CIG developers. I'm not sure we need a completely balanced game.
Okay, so hang on. What we're still aiming for is like we try to avoid a meta game, right? This is like something we're still trying. It will be incredibly hard, but if we have a game at some point where like almost all ship types have a purpose, where it makes sense, also like maybe in the value that you bought that ship for in an in-game shop or something like that, then we're probably in a good place.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. It's some ships are meant to be. There's progression in mind. It's not every ship is supposed to be equal. Some ships you're supposed to progress through.
Yeah.
A Gladius is where the light fighter journey starts. It's not where your light fighter journey is supposed to end.
Sure.
And stuff like that. So you have to. So just by the very concept of progression, not all ships can be balanced, nor should they. They're supposed to be you start here and you move here and you move here. Now, that has changed quite a bit over the years and it will continue to change as the game continues to develop. There was one more thing I wanted to follow up on and stuff, and I lost it. Because there was a guy in the Twitch chat like, "Syrage's a joke" and whatever, and I was just like, I'm like, thanks for watching. Let's just move on to the next question, and if I remember it, I'll come back. What happened with the new quantum travel experience that we saw at CitizenCon 2953, so 2 years ago?
Okay, so at this point, the quantum experience that you saw there was exactly how it was at the time in Squadron 42. That design since then has changed a bit. Also with the requirements of the other flight model changes that we're currently doing. So in general, there's 3 parts to the new flight model. It's like the quantum experience, the updated space flight model, and the control surfaces. And all of these got changed and expanded based on the requirements that we saw. And right now, what we back then described as quantum boosting is basically has changed a little bit. So quantum boosting will be used for like the slow speed range that you used to do nav mode with, right? So if you want to go there's basically 3 speed ranges that you need in Star Citizen. One is to go from, let's say, one POI to another or between planets or something like this, like where we're talking millions of kilometers, right? Then you need the range in which you're navigating within these spaces. So let's say going from, let's say you have a bubble of like 300 kilometers or so in size. You need to navigate in between there, but you don't want to fly with your SCM speeds, right? So for that, quantum boosting will be used. And then there's normal SCM speed region. So basically the thruster-based flying, which will still be limited to, I don't know, maybe 300 meters per second or so.
No, Caveman Crafty in the Twitch chat says, in other words, that quantum video was marketing fluff.
No, it was not.
No.
No.
It was definitely real.
No. Literally just said it's exactly how it was in Squadron at the time it was recorded.
Yeah.
That's how it was.
It was all real. It was real gameplay. You can actually see that it was real gameplay because on stage, our left stick broke, and you can see that in the video because the velocity meter on the left side is constantly twitching because the stick broke. It was all real.
You try.
It was real.
Here's a fun question. The F8. Will the F-8 ever once more become a mobility monster? Like it was built in Squadron 42 Prologue. As of the current moment, it feels like a flying brick and with all the agility of one. Rich, what the hell are you doing to my baby? That's what it says.
Yeah, Rich.
Is that what it says?
That's what it says.
Oh, no.
I'm just reading it.
Yeah, so it's about providing a tuning that fits the archetype of that ship, and that's something we're always working towards, is giving the ship the archetype, and it's and I said it's always work in progress, and that ship in particular it's got loads of guns, it's got loads of thrusters, and as you say, not all ships have to fit the perfect progression of balance, and that's in that sense. So we're definitely looking at what the ship should be with a new flight model as well. There's going to be some more changes there. Because a big thing with the new flight model is we're going to have far more tools at our disposal to make ships different. Whereas at the moment, we've got tools, but we're quite limited in that context of providing ships that are quick, but are sluggish at the same time. So we're kind of in a box with the current balance a little bit in that regard. But with the new flight model, we've got more tools to give us maybe a ship that can be really quick, but actually takes a little bit longer to get there. Or the acceleration is a little bit slower, but it can move, faster.
I do want to. Anything you want to add, Mattea?
So we do know that at the current state, the overall heavy fighter angular velocities got decreased a little bit, but we think it's for the better. And once again, we think the feeling and the perception that we see on the player side these days is mostly related to, once again, the relation between those ship classes, right? And in our opinion, once again, what we want to reach is like a balanced and intended gameplay experience for the ship per se, right? So having a super OP, mega powerful ship, can be cool the first time that you have it, right? But after a while, when it becomes the meta and it becomes the forced choice, game design-wise and gameplay-wise, I don't think this is a good direction or either a fun direction. So what we want,
Yeah, it's not healthy.
Now, of course, you're going to say that, and Twitch is about to fill up with people saying, but what about this ship? And what about that ship? And what about that ship that are currently OP and stuff like that? And the answer is, we'll get there.
Yeah, and that's a big thing about the balance is it's a continuous thing, it's moving, it's evolving all the time. And we can't tune 200 ships all in one go when we figure something out. So it has to come in steps, which is why we've done pass on the medium, it's why we've done the pass on the heavies. And then and that'll keep evolving, but we have to do it in pieces because we just, we can't move 200 ships at the same time.
And also it's more important for us to kind of move those pieces step by step because we understand the dynamics that we generate inside the game a bit better as well. So, we get more knowledge about it, we understand how player prefer to use certain type of ship rather than others. So moving those Lego bricks in tiny blocks, it's easier than just moving one and see how it performs and then try to scale everything according to that. So that's what we're going to try to do, and what we are trying, what we have tried to do, and what we are actually doing as well with the current monthly updated patches. So we always try to deliver something to address maybe a specific issue or a specific area of the ship flight in the game.
Zodicide says, just hire more people to balance at the same time. And he's got that. The one Twitch emoji with the kind of sarcastic face. So I think he's going to be. I think that's a sarcastic comment. I'm not sure. I'm not up on the popular culture, but no, it's just one of those things where 9 doctors don't make a baby in 1 month and whatever. Plus, as I said on earlier this week to another thing, not everybody at CAG is not a monolith. You have what you think and what, you have what you think and want, you have what you think and want. Ideally, we find compromise, we find places, but adding more people will often bring in more opinions and more stuff and actually can make finding consensus even harder. So it's just one of those things where, unfortunately, hiring more devs is not the answer to everything. If you need to make another location, possibly. But if you're trying to fine tune the balance of a thing, not always the case. I want to ask 2 more questions about, I remembered what I wanted to talk about before. In balance. You mentioned player skill.
Yeah.
There's this thing. There used to be a guy who worked here, Vinny Sinatra. He was our QA lead back in the day in LA studio, and that guy could do things in a Gladius that I could not see anybody else do. It didn't matter what ship you flew. If he was in a Gladius, he could kick your ass. And that was the thing. Like the Gladius, the light fighter meta, the way that it just spoke to him. It was like this perfect match between pilot and ship. But you don't always get that. Sometimes people, they desperately want to fly. They desperately want to fly my Superman punching ship right here because it's the aesthetic that they want, and it has the role that they want, but it's not perfectly suited for who they actually are. And the comments that come from that are, oh, well, this thing is underpowered, or this thing moves slower. And like this, well, the answer is, well, maybe this ship actually isn't the one that was right for you. Maybe this other ship is the one. How do you incorporate that, and how do you manage that? This player preference and the player skill level. How does that factor into your balance plans here?
So it's really complex. So we start off with a shipping concept, and the team we work with, the vehicle team and the drone crew, and we work with them on identifying the kind of identity of that ship and what it should be and what it will be in the game. And then according to that, we're building a certain character that we think suits that ship. It could be really fast forwards, it could have really good handling, or it's really slow and clunky. We just don't know. But it depends on the ship. So we try and apply that, and then it just evolves from the loadout of the ship. It can depend on the weapons, or or if it doesn't have the weapons to defend itself, what does that mean as well? Does that mean make it really tanky so it can't fight back, but it can sustain? But all those different things that we have, all the tools we have at this disposal, create what that ship is in the game. And then from that, the players themselves have choices within that ship what they can have as well. And we try and provide as much as we can to give the players to move the ship a little bit more in that place or that place, depending on what they want. But the ship always has a kind of window that it will operate in, and it might creep into other ships if if you have different components, stuff like that. But it's always got that core identity.
And sometimes that's not going to align with each individual player and what they want it to be. And that's not a balance issue. That's a thing that happens when you've got a game with 200 ships. If I could fly around in any ship and be an ultimate fighter, I'm going to speak about me personally here, it would be the Mantis. I love the aesthetic of the Mantis. I think the Mantis could have been the coolest damn fighter ever. And that's not how it was built and whatnot. And I've tried the few times I still get into the game, whatever. I always try to fight, Mantis, and I struggle, and that's just because I love the aesthetic of it so much. I want that stuff like that. So, but it's one of those things. It's like that's not a balance problem. No. That is simply that ship is not meant to do the thing that I want it to do, and I always have to kind of remind myself.
I mean, there is a good analogy. There's is from there was a German World War II ace which was called Adolf Galland, and he flew the Focke-Wulf 190 and the Me 109, and although one of them was better, like the Focke-Wulf was a lot better in terms of the stats. He actually preferred the BF or the Me 109 because it was just better in handling, and it just speaks to the characteristics of the ship. The ship have the characteristics. It might not be the right ship for you. Maybe you just focus so much on one ship that your muscle memory is all aligned with how this or that ship should handle, right? But this is why we have different ships, right? These are just different. Well, they give you different access to the universe. Maybe the handling is different, but then you have a big size 4-gun somewhere else. So,
the second question I want, we've said already, and folks can you talk to us more about the flight model? We're going to do that in just a minute. This is my setup for that.
Okay.
We have done, Yogi, Rich, we have done a lot of these shows over the years. Whether it's here at SCL, whether it's on an ISC, or whether it's even a CitizenCon presentation that we put together and whatever. For a number of years now, we have said, this next thing is our thing we're waiting for. Whether that was master modes, or whether that was hover mode before that, or whether that was operator modes, whether it's flight model, stuff like this. At various points over the course of Star Citizen's now 13-year development, it's been something or other that we're waiting on that unlocks the next thing. Now, and along that, it's been armor penetration. And it's been recently we put flight blades in there, and that allows you to tune things like this. We know that crafting is coming up. Crafting is going to dramatically change how so many of these ships go, because now you're going to be able to build some version of these ships and affect their characteristics in the one that you buy. You know, we're selling the stock versions, but people are going to be able to craft their own individual versions, and some level of customization will go into that. Is it futile to try to do any balancing along the way? Is this just a waste of everybody's time to try to balance heavy fighters, to try to balance light fighters, when you know there's so many outstanding systems still coming?
No, so I'd say it's part of the journey. And let's say we threw away everything tomorrow, we still have what we've learned along the way. And that's really important, because we're constantly learning. You know, it goes back to you earlier. You know, I've been here 7 years. And my understanding of the game and the game mechanics has fundamentally changed in that time. You know, and as we've built more systems and we've added more to the game, and you know, we do know the game's not complete, but it's kind of exciting because we're building towards that, and we're always moving in that direction and learning more and getting better, hopefully, you know, at what we do. You know, so we change things along the way, and then we have other systems that come in and they might throw a curveball in that, you know, system that we've made. But we're learning along the way to build what we think is the best game.
Yeah. I think I can add something on that from a different perspective, because I've joined the team roughly around 2 years ago, so not a long time as these other two veterans, right? But it's very important in order to, you as a game designer in my case, but in general, I think as a developer, to have that knowledge and being able to have that experience in tuning and you know, getting accustomed to the game, getting to know how the game is working currently. Also to understand, first of all, what can you do and what can you plan to improve the game in the future, in the long run, and also be prepared for that when the moment comes. You know what to do, you know what to expect, you know what to manipulate in order to create the right experience, right? So it's never a waste of time, and also I guess you guys want to play as well the game, right, from time to time. So playing a game that is in a better state probably is better than just a game that is not balanced at all in it.
I think there's often, over the course of the 11 years I've been here, I continuously encounter this expectation that every answer is supposed to be figured out before you start making the game, and before you start building. And that's just not how game development works. It's construction, not development. But it's always, from the player perspective, it is always incredibly challenging, because we have backers, we have players, we have citizens out there who want desperately to believe in us. They want desperately to believe that we know what we're doing. They want desperately to believe that there's a master plan and stuff. And the reality is that we know what we're doing and there is a plan, but those things change. We know what we're doing, but we learn more along the way. And those things that we learn change our perceptions. They change our ideas along the way. We have that plan, and then new systems come online and stuff, and that plan has to change and it has to evolve and stuff like this. And it's never an issue of not knowing what we want to do or not being able to do it. This is what game development is. It is this constantly evolving, never-ending thing to find this thing that we're all trying to build together. There's Chris's vision, there's Rich Tyler's vision, there's your guys' vision, there's everybody's vision, and it's about synthesizing that vision along the way. And it's going to change, it's going to evolve, and it can be very frustrating, both for player and developer alike. And it's just, I don't really know where I'm going with this. I feel like I want to acknowledge that.
I don't think that the vision has changed a lot, though, right?
No.
I mean, like, the one thing you can't underestimate is like engineering and design and development. It just takes time. Like, I mean, like, seriously, like 90% of all the things that player proposed that we should do better, we usually thought about these already, right? Because this is what we're doing for a living. But it just takes time to implement these. If somebody tells me, oh, please add an altimeter or something like this, then there's 15 different problems we need to solve. It's like, it's a lot.
Yeah. And those are the easy part as well, like, because a lot of time player, have very interesting insight and ideas about very complex system that we can potentially put in place, but those touches such a vast amount of other features in the game, and organizing that type of work and getting everyone on board and from completely different teams, especially in a company of the size of Stagey, is very difficult, right? But in general, it's very difficult in video game making, so it's not a unique problem for us.
No, but being difficult is what makes it worth doing.
Indeed.
Yeah, we've got we've got a very complex game, but that's very exciting because we are doing it different. All our systems are real systems. They function, they work, and they do real things based on real, physics mechanics that happen. And
Most times. There's a few exceptions.
Yeah, there's a few exceptions here and there, but most of the time that works really well for us because it's a really complex problem to solve. But actually, it makes Star Citizen, I think, really unique for us. And it makes it really fun to work on.
Yogi's like, yeah, we usually 90% of the time we've usually had that
That's probably a bit
conversation.
high.
He goes, there are still plenty of times where we're being completely honest, where an idea has come from the community, and it's been like we've been there like, oh, that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
I had it first, right?
Yeah. No. I agree with Das Wheelie Cool 69420. That's a thing to do. I just call that a
No, but I mean, we all are we've all seen like similar media. We've all seen similar films. We play Star Citizen because we probably like Wing Commander or Star Wars in the past and so on, right? So there is a common understanding. Star Trek, right? Yeah.
Too soon.
Yeah. So I think even of some things where we would say, oh, we had this idea, it probably just came from somewhere else. We incorporate a lot of community ideas in the designs as well.
Yeah. All right. So at this point, we're about halfway through the show, Yogi. So I'm gonna turn it over to you. This updated flight model. This updated. Now, obviously, when the time comes, we'll probably do an ISE or something on it. But give us the lowdown on what this is and what it will entail and what you're doing right now.
Okay. So.
And I'm just gonna go get a drink if that's cool. Just there we go.
Okay. So following the master mode release, we listened to we read the community feedback and so on. We had our own plans with this and basically made the next step what the rest should be. And there's three things which are not just the flight model, but the whole flight experience, right? So I mentioned before, we've got the space flight model, which is how ships use the thrusters. We have the atmospheric flight model, which are the control surfaces, which we also demoed in the past, but which got a quite big update now. And there is the quantum experience. So all of these things combined, they're moving the game towards the, let's say, the traversal vision that CR wants, right? Because the reason why we have nav mode at the moment, where you can go into this mode where you can reach, 1400 meters per second, is just there to navigate in these big spaces that we need to traverse, because we don't have the quantum code for that yet. So in terms of the thrusters, thruster flying. So this is not like a groundbreaking, we do everything else. It's just like an evolution of the previous stuff. So it's just like building on what we already have. So the main thing for combat flyers out there is that we're going to have a non-spheric velocity space. This means we can go forward faster than we can come backwards or to the sides. This has the benefit that these typical 6 degrees of freedom problems that we have in combat, like backstrafing or kiting, they're much reduced. From our perspective, this just feels better, like the fights are more closer and so on. Also, we added jerk. So jerk is the change of acceleration. So instead of going within a frame from 0G to 9G, we're ramping this up now over short an amount of time, at least for the fighters. And this just makes sure that you have to plan a little bit more ahead, and the rotations feel smoother. What else is there? You can, and then we built in a lot of like different steps how to customize IFCS for you. So what you have in the game right now is more like an IFCS on training wheels, right? Where at the moment you can turn off a couple of assists like gravity compensation and G-save. And these things, in the future, they will actually always mean a little bit of like a buff in terms of like what your thrusters can do. So when you, what you have at the moment in our internal builds, you can turn off gravity compensation, you can turn off the stability. So the stability, for example, changes the behavior of IFCS and gives your lateral thrust more importance than the longitudinal thrust, which means when you're in fights, you are better. It's better for you to, or it's easier for you to evade shots. But at the same time, it makes the flying a little bit more dangerous because it doesn't keep the TVI stable anymore. Well, that's like now technical, more technical details. I'm sorry, you're falling asleep almost, right?
No, I was looking at iCore 102, who was like, this doesn't sound like it's going to solve the problem. And you're like 4 minutes into a 20-minute exploration.
That's fine. That's fine. I mean, like, honestly, don't believe me. When it's available, play it, and then you can judge it properly. The other thing, which is a pretty big chunk, or makes also a big difference, is that we don't have top speeds anymore. And now, before you grasp, oh God, unrestricted speeds. No, there are still restricted speeds, but we don't in the game data. We don't have any top speeds anymore. The top speed of a ship is what your thrusters can achieve in a fixed amount of time that we define. But the good thing is when you have your power assignment and you put more pips into your engines, your thrusters will actually produce more thrust. And more thrust means then more speed.
So some artificial speed limit that the universe has applied to you.
Well, you still have, we need speed limits. We're a game after all, right? But this basically means like, but because it's based on physics, what will happen is you have your Gladius and you fire a missile. You see, your overall weight of the Gladius reduced now, so your thrusts have the same thrust output, but your ship is now lighter, so you actually get more Gs. We had this before, but now you also get more speed based on this, right? And looking further ahead, I mean, this is like outside of the new flight model, but when we have Maelstrom and so on, we're also going to have like more realistic ship masses. At the moment, the Gladius weights
55 tons.
55 tons.
Yeah.
Our squadron weight.
It's a little bit heavy.
Our squadron Gladius was up at 180 tons, which is like close to a 747, right? But now the squadron Gladius is around 20 tons, which means like the weight of every missile and every component actually matters. So if you, for example, have your Gladius or any other ship, and you just rip out the most important components, you will just get much faster.
Yeah, this is going to be very relevant for like smaller craft, maybe for racing as well.
Yeah,
like
for racing.
Having lighter components or removing weapons will, give you that extra window of performances that you can exploit throughout the race, right? So.
Right. So, and that is basically just the space part of this. On the control surfaces, we have a full licensed pilot on the control surfaces for now, right? That's Kareem. So he's working on the control surface support. What we have already ready is the unassisted aerodynamics flight, which means how the ship feels when you directly affect the deflection angles of the control surface. So you can glide, you can even like your ship can be entirely off and shut off. You still have control over your control surfaces, which means if you're getting distorted in atmosphere and you can actually glide down, you can flare and you can crash land your ship in a you can do a controlled crash landing, right? And so and the core on-off thing which I just mentioned, we introduced a concept which is called the IFCS core. It means what you have right now in the game, where the ship is just constantly compensating for your rotation. This means the core is on, so IFCS is actively working for you. But IFCS in the future can be slapped down or even turned off, and in this case, you don't have pure Newton flight, so also on the rotation. And this also happens when you, for example, crash into something. For example, on the Gladius, let's say we know that the Gladius cannot go above, let's say, 20 Gs. Then we might have a limit in the IFCS code that says, when that ship goes over 25 Gs, the course is slapped off for like a couple of seconds, and then it needs to reboot. So during this time, you still have control over your ship. You can still like use the thrusters and so on, but it will not auto-stabilize yourself. So it's like more or less like flying like a Kerbal Space Program. So it's which means like you will tumble after every collision. The ship will not recover as fast, and whether the core is on or off also plays a role in atmospheric flight, because in atmospheric flight, when the core is on, we will have a fly-by-wire system that keeps the TVI stable. But when the core is off, you directly control the control surface directly. So that's
I want to jump in.
A lot, sorry.
Yeah, I want to jump in and say, give Yogi a chance to catch his breath. That 20 and 25 thing, those were numbers off the top of his head to illustrate a point. No, don't go up and update Urkel and whatever. Like, it's going to have a 20 G. Only a 20 G tolerance? Blah, blah, blah.
This is just examples,
Guys?
right? Just examples.
Hold on. It's just an example.
This is great. I want these.
We might need it, to be fair.
Yeah.
The open space
like,
at the time.
All right.
Or like, hey, Mattia, I need something from you. I'm coming over.
So thrusters, atmospheric flight,
Yeah.
control services, and the third one was?
Quantum experience. Yeah, quantum experience will change because at the moment It's very clunky how we traveled through the game. So I think the best example is nav mode will die is probably the. So, but this is like.
Hold on, no. Look directly in that camera. Hold on. Look.
Which
and
one?
say it
This
again.
one? This one, right?
Hold on. Go to Yogi's camera. There you go.
Say it.
Say it again.
Nav mode will die.
F's in chat for nav mode, everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
The reason is more because like it's very clunky to traverse the verse. So the way how it's currently planned, I'm saying currently, it can change, right? Is
What? It can change?
Of course it can change, right? Like if we play it and it's not good, then we'll change it again. So, but the overall goal is to make the traversal through the verse very, very fluent. So the thing that will define whether you can do a quantum, if you can use a quantum drive or not, is just whether it's powered or not. And this is like a resource network problem. So if you select, for example, or if you set up your resources so that your quantum drive is not powered, you cannot use quantum. If it's powered, you can. And then it will be as easy as looking somewhere, holding a button, and off you go like we had in the past. So there won't be any mode switching anymore. There is no quantum drag that slows you down suddenly with 70 Gs or so. Yeah, so that will all be more fluent. And this is like, I'm not talking, it will be, we have most of this already in Squadrons. It's actually on my to-do list on this week to rip nav mode out.
The PU?
No. No. So the way is like due to the time constraints we have in Squadron, we first do these things in Squadron, but everything we do on the flight model is directly moved to the code base of the PU. Basically, most of the stuff on the new flight model is already in the current 4.2 code, but it's of course turned off. We will also not enable it until we have all things in place, including the ship tunings, because in the master node release, Mattia mentioned that before, we had to go through all the ships very, very fast because we had this time window that we needed to commit to the master mode changes within 2 months, right? For the new flight model, the data sits all in parallel, so which means we can, I don't want to say take the time because, but we don't need to rush the implementation or the tuning of the new ships because we don't want the ships to be as similar as they were before. We want to give them character. And we don't need to rush this out because we can have the old and the new flight model data side by side without destroying each other. Unless you do an integration wrong like I did. There was a little buff to the Gladius, which was due to an integration, which I messed up, and I apologize for that. So
yeah, you guys are so fast in catching up with those changes, man.
Yeah,
like,
we
did this mistake.
So, yeah.
20 minutes later, there were like 20 videos on YouTube, and 20 seconds later, I fixed the issue, and it was
what?
back.
I didn't.
Again.
Let's be real honest here. So there are 3 levels of anything that sort of happens in Star Citizen at any given time. Anytime a patch comes out, one is we've put a thing out there, it's working as intended, and that is either great, or we learn a lesson. Yeah. We learn a lesson, and it's like with master modes and whatever. It's like, okay, well, it changed things, and that's as it should be and whatnot. And I'm proud to say that I can honestly say that's what happens most of the time. Then there's the second scenario where we do a thing, we put it out, and it doesn't work the way it's supposed to because of a bug. There's some other competing system that it integrated into our work, and suddenly like it worked great on my build and here, and then it got into everything else in the PU, and it doesn't work right. Some underlying system is screwing up. There's some rare use case that is being used to exploit it, whatever. It's like, it's like, we wish it's like it kills us because this thing we just put out doesn't perform exactly the way that we wanted it to because of something that was out of our control at the moment. And then there's the third one where sometimes we typed a 7 and we meant a 9.
Yeah.
And that goes out there and you're like, wait, why is that doing that? And it's like, oh no.
That was me.
Oh no.
Usually it's our fault.
Yeah,
this time.
Oh no.
But we have very tiny keyboards, so it's like we need just bigger ones.
And it's one of those things like, sure, you might not hear an admission like that at EA or Activision or whatnot. I guarantee you it happens everywhere. But yeah, we're human. We're human, and sometimes we do those things. Those things happen more often than not. There's a number of times, like you just said, Mateo, where we're watching a streamer, or watching a YouTube, going, wait, that's not how that's supposed to go.
Yep.
You go and you're like,
Oh no.
I mean, we had a case of something similar just with with the 4.2 release, like the ground turbulence.
oh, the ground turbulence.
Was meant to be in there for 6 months. We didn't notice that there was a bug in the noise generator. Well, it wasn't really a bug. It was just me not being careful enough, right? Where it basically did not work on live environments because the time difference is bigger, right? Because in our environment, in our dev environments, it's the time since we started the game. In the live environment, it's the time since 1970. So,
So yeah, the variable was too large in order.
yeah, so the value was too large for the
Yeah.
noise generator to actually give us a value.
Yeah.
But it was working for us, and
It's great. Works on my machine.
Yeah, it works on my machine.
But this happens.
There are people out there who will take admissions like that and stories like that as some indicator of not being professional or not knowing what we're doing and whatever. And if you're choosing to take it that way, you know, God be with you. You can do whatever you want, that stuff. I prefer to always present our stuff as honest and as human, as like that. We make mistakes just like anybody else, and we have our share. So does everybody. I think maybe we're just a little more candid about it sometimes.
Yeah, but thanks for pointing out. Like for us, honestly, especially these days in DPU, we tend to, keep up with, or try to keep up with a lot of feedbacks and data, even from the community run tool as well, right? So guys keep, shouting and letting us know what is not working, and we haven't.
Thank you for bringing that up. It's not just the content creators and stuff. Issue Council.
Yep.
Oh my God, can you imagine this project without Issue Council?
Honestly, often I see people thinking that the issue council is not and what I mean by the people, I mean outside of the company, is not a useful tool. But honestly, for us, having issues with ReproStep videos and having directly a ticket in Jira, then I can act upon immediately, asking directors, labeling, can we fix this for this release, and so on and so forth. It's super helpful. So keep up the quality of the IC report, guys, because that's gonna help a lot.
Right,
pass a lot. Yeah.
We've got 15 minutes left. I want to get to some more of these questions from the community here. This question's worded a little bit, but it's basically saying capital ships in atmosphere, WTF?
Ah.
Like everybody's seen the terrible, everybody's seen that Polaris or that Idris. You're trying to do a line of mine, you're trying to do a Stormageddon, whatnot, and it's just capitals in atmosphere. Any hope?
That's quite of a ship of Polaris, by the way.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
This was basically the role model for the Polaris.
Okay, so I know what you want to say. Okay, so the vertical thing, right? Where ships do this, nobody wants that, right? CR doesn't want that. He had a talk with me last week, right? But this is also something we probably will only fix with the new flight model. I don't want to say, it's going to be fine in the future, but it is the plan for this, right? So right now, when you're in atmosphere, we have something called thruster efficiency curves, and the efficiency of your thrusters goes down by about 50% in the highest case. In the future, that efficiency will be much, much lower. So what you can expect that if you have a ship, let's say, give me a ship with the VTOLs, I don't know, Cutlass, right? Let's say Cutlass, yeah. So if you have the Cutlass, right? You can expect that when the Cutlass, the Cutlass is like a light transport, so we will not be as punishing probably. But let's say, does the Idris have VTOLs?
Yes.
Idris have VTOLs?
Yes, but they don't work in game. But
okay, cool.
They will do.
Okay, fine. So let's say the Idris is landed, then you will get a message on the heads-up display that tells you what your thrust to weight ratio against gravity is, and if that ratio is below 1, you will not be able to take off. And this is then just taking account the mass of the ship, how much it is loaded on it. So if you have your cargo full of lead cubes, let's say that, right? Then it is possible that you will not be able to take off. So now
Possible, not a guarantee.
it's not a, it's
You can overload.
you can overload and then you will not be able to take off. I mean, you may try to boost, because boost gives you like a vertically, I think like something like 35% more thrust. You can put more power into your engine, so you get this natural resource network based buff in your engines, but you will have a hard time just hovering like this, right? And at the same time, because these are your strongest thrusters, but your retros are usually a lot weaker than the other thrusters. So if you do this, you will eventually just sink down. That's at least the plan, right? So you can expect that larger ships will be harder to fly and to land in atmosphere. We will try to give players helpers so that new players don't just like crash land this thing, right? But still, like there's still physics, and like the reason why the ships can hover at this moment is because they have so much thrust that they can. Because all they need to do is to be able to hover in 1G. Or let's say on Earth, right? When that is not guaranteed anymore, then you automatically have like a more realistic and harder situation there.
And that's coming tomorrow?
That's not coming tomorrow. I'm not gonna, Jared. No when question. No, but seriously, like we're really keen to put this over as fast as possible. But so the space flight model is done. The aerodynamic stuff is halfway done because the fly-by-wire is not completely done, and what we need on the control surfaces that's left is the ability of AI to use control surfaces. That's like a relatively complex project, but I'm confident that we can solve that in the next couple of weeks. And then there is the quantum experience. When all these things are done, and then it's the first time we can actually let players test this thing in the PU environment. But this is not for tomorrow, or also not for like...
Until then, can we just make it so that if you're in a Polaris or an Idris and you do this in atmosphere, you just instantly go to Kleischer?
I can, but then you're not gonna be able to slow down very fast anymore. Or like
no. I just teleport the pilot right to Kleischer. If they're doing this in an atmosphere, just that would be what I do, and that's why I'm not a designer. And they don't put me in charge of anything.
Citizen.
Rich, you mentioned turrets earlier. Are there any plans to make industrial ship turrets be a viable deterrent, or will they remain a mostly useless POS?
Slightly subjective question.
It's very subjective, isn't it?
It's possible I'm adding my own spin to some of these things because I have feelings of my own.
Yep, so the whole point of those turrets is, the ships can't defend themselves with guns, so we've got turrets that, we want the ships to be able to defend themselves with turrets. We are working on the kind of general turret experience and how kind of powerful the turrets are as well. And we made some changes, was it last release? Yeah.
In general, like with the engineering
so we buffed them up.
We buffed the ammo, we buffed maybe some regenerates for specific ships as well. So.
Yeah. But there's this other thing, like the thing that we're currently lacking is effective medium range weaponry. Right now, because a turret that fires projectile, just like it's just the
normal gun projectile.
This is a gun projectile. The thing is like we don't want to twist like the projectile after we launched it, right? So what we need is like some medium range weaponry. We have a plan for this. Like we would like to try out flak at some point, but it's not ready for multiplayer yet. But it can range this it can be effective beyond the range where normal gun turrets are effective. I mean, I guess the question comes mostly from, I have this large ship and I'm getting shot at by fighters which keep their distance. But the other thing is like coming to more like Torsten's work concerning like the armor system and so on. There's also the question of like if smaller ships will actually be a danger for larger ships, because we are going to have like penetration parameters on the bullets, and we're going to have armor and so on. So a lot of these weapons that people use at the moment to damage larger ships, they might not be able to damage them in the future. It's like if you have a pistol and shoot at a tank, the tank says, well, okay, right? So if the ships want to do actual damage on the ships, they probably need to get so close in the future that they can destroy precisely the subsystems. But that's like, this is a little bit outside of like...
then that, of course, provides more utility to some of these heavy fighters that are designed to take on the larger ships.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, like the Ares, which
exactly.
and stuff like that. I want to see if we can do at least 4 more, so I'm limiting you
to 1 second.
90 seconds.
I should not babble.
Answer, sir, because I want to hit more of these things before we go. He's got an airplane he's got to catch.
Right.
Weather. is in 4.2 for or the next iteration of it. Weather affecting ship's ability to fly?
Yes, it's in there. You can try it. Larger ship in general should be less affected by weather effects, and a smaller ship clearly more. And yeah, you can try that. The effects already that Yogi and Ethan have been trying to smash through and testing and trying already in 4.2. So
Fly into clouds, have fun.
yep, have fun in clouds. Yep, big fun.
And of course, that's this next iteration of it. It'll continue to evolve as more weather conditions
Yes,
come in.
yes, especially also with when we're going to update the atmospheric system as well. Clearly, we're going to have to adapt everything.
Okay. Recent changes to missiles and torpedoes.
Yeah.
Are you happy with how it's still in PTU right now? Hasn't gone to live yet.
Yes. So for the targeting system, we are quite happy. It hasn't been easy to kind of try to find a sweet spot for the targeting params of missiles specifically. Also with torpedoes, the safety improvements to avoid certain unwanted behavior, like them firing torpedoes too close to a couple of ships, are in place. And we are looking forward to players testing them and stress testing them as well. But in general, we are quite happy. Yeah.
What about the thing where they fire the missile or torpedo, but they keep moving forward?
Yes.
And the distance.
Yeah. So basically, how it's currently working, it's the safety distance is calculated between the torpedoes that you launch and your ship itself. So if your ship is moving and the torpedo is moving, and you're not 1.5 kilometers away from the torpedo won't detonate. But however, this is not the intended final direction that we want. We have already spoke with all these peeps and PAT and Team Johnny as well for some updates on the safety mechanics based mostly on the distance traveled of the torpedoes and also some safety
From
check
the
on
moment it was launched.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the big change right now because of this.
So it's important to say that we wanted to try this stuff first because that was basically the parameter that we had in place actually since a lot of time in order to see how the gameplay dynamics are looking. And now that we know that this is kind of the direction that we want to dive into, we can further work.
So right now, if you follow your torpedo missile, and you're too close, it'll just never arm, and that sucks. You want it to start that distance timer to start from the moment you launch it, and then if you choose to get too close to it when it explodes, that's on you, pilot. That's where we're going. Okay, good. Ground vehicles. Why do they suck?
Wow, it's very subjective again. So we have, obviously made a big kind of change to ground vehicles. So we changed the fundamental physics of the ground vehicles, but that still doesn't mean they're finished. They are still subject to the same kind of physics as the rest of the game, and we do know that the general collisions don't feel very good, and we do want to improve that. But also we want to give more purpose to the ground vehicles as well. And that just isn't the ground vehicle itself, it's the guns or it's the torpedoes on the ground vehicle. So it's about improving those systems as well, so players have more of a reason to choose them. Especially as we have more environments in the game that, they may limit where ships can go, they may limit where ground vehicles can go. And, also you may want to use ground vehicles to defend a certain area. So, if you've got a ballista, you can have ballistas and protect an area. But that isn't just making that ground vehicle physically good, it's the systems on it, it's the torpedoes and, and how that, those kind of systems generate the gameplay we want.
That's why already we try to bespokely tune the ballista torpedoes and missiles to kind of fit more into the NTR role, as well as the Centurion turret, by the way. Now the turret has gimbals as well, so it has more ranges, has more ammo, to try to enhance the peculiarities of the NTR vehicles as well.
Any hope for some kind of throttle control or something on ground vehicles? Is it still just a press and you go to your top speed? Can we?
I think it's somewhere in some to-do list, but it's compared to other things, it's relatively low.
Being able to fine-tune that control and whatnot.
Yeah, but this is like in the. It is somewhere as a ticket. I think in my list even. I don't know. But it's like compared to other things like really low priority. So I wouldn't wait for it for now.
All right, folks, that's it. That's our time. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for tuning in to Starson Live, Vehicle Flight and Balance. Yogi, Mattia, and Rich, as always, thank you for taking the time out of your Thursday to come. Yogi, you literally have a flight. You have a taxi waiting to take you to the airport and go. Thank you for...
What's the time now?
You've got 3 minutes.
See, got 3 minutes.
I'm doing my wrap up, but trying to convince him to do a show. It's like, I've got to leave for an airport. I'm like, I promise I'll make it in time. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for talking so in depth about the flight model stuff. If just judging from the Twitch chat, I think a lot of folks are anticipating those things. For folks on in the various marketing stuff, yes, Alien Week does launch today. That should launch in roughly 2-ish minutes. Those people are doing that. That's the Alien Week promotion where all those alien ships come back, and the new Asperia Prowler utility, which will have a BTS episode that goes live on YouTube in just a minute, and you get to learn all about that. And yes, Virginia, it's true. It's more accessible, and it's not nearly as wallet prohibitive as the original Prowler. Also, lots of improvements to the original Prowler. You want to check out the Q&A for the Prowler utility, and we go through a bunch of the improvements we've made to the Prowler along with this work. So check that stuff out. For SCL, I'm Jared. That's been Rich. It's been Yogi. That's been Mattia. Thank you so much for hanging out with us this week, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. No show next week. Bye, everybody.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
The Prowler utility is a brand new dedicated cargo ship with enhanced stealth abilities.
It trades some of its combat capabilities for more industrial uses.
If you don't want to get detected doing your cargo runs, this is the perfect ship.
This ship is for someone who wants to do cargo, who wants to remain stealthy, and who wants to look sick doing it.
The Prowler utility is different from the baseline Prowler.
Because we had to carve out extra space for the new cargo, that meant that the belly section of the ship had to increase in size just a tiny bit.
It also has a ventral size 2 remote tractor beam, which can be accessed from the pilot or co-pilot seat.
And that'll allow you to move cargo freely in and out of the ship. The base version of the ship has these feathers on the wings, which get deployed down when you land, but those are no longer really needed since the functionality is slightly different. And so what we've done now is when you land with this ship, those feathers get tucked up, giving you more space to actually move cargo around the ship freely.
It features 2 size 4 guns under the wings instead of the original 2 size 5 guns, while retaining the remote turret on top with the 2 size 3 weapons.
As the Prowler utility is a variant of the Prowler, rather than a standalone chassis, it gets to share all the cool paints between both versions. And existing Prowler owners, of course, get to benefit from all the new paints that come with the launch of this vehicle.
We've updated the lighting quite a bit in order to sort of just give a little bit more feedback to the player. We've chosen to really lean into sort of the red lighting that we've been doing on the interior of the Prowler in general and push that to the exterior. And so if you're coming down above someone, you just look like this incredibly aggressive silhouette with red lights flashing everywhere. I think it looks awesome.
Compared to the base Prowler, we have stripped out the lower interior
by removing the main section of drop seats and replacing that with a 32 SCU cargo hold.
And added a sort of clamshell door opening on the undersides to allow easy access to the cargo bay.
It essentially looks like a face hugger, but it face hugs your cargo.
There's a new engineering room on the upper deck, which is previously where a component closet was, and it retains 3 of the 4 jump seats up front in the co-pilot foyer and replaces one of those drop seats with a storage rack for handheld cargo boxes. I'm super happy with how it turned out, and I'm excited to see the feedback from players and how they end up using it in the game.
We wanted to try and come up with an arrangement of the cargo hold and the tractor beam in such a way that you could potentially swoop in and grab cargo that maybe necessarily doesn't belong to you. My dream would be to just see a bunch of people stealing other people's cargo with this thing in the dead of night and just flying off into the distance without ever landing, which would be super sick.
I'm just super excited that we get to launch a more accessible version of the Prowler, which I think is a fan favorite visually, but has just never had its time in the verse. So hope to see lots of these flying around now.
This was unintended. That's the first thing I must say. My career took a curve. I was a lead character artist at another company. One of the things that scared me the most at that time was hair, because it is one of the hardest tasks. And I just tackled it so well, I guess, that I started to get praise for it. Praise in a way that I never got as a character artist. And that's how it went. I never planned to be a digital hairdresser of any sort. I've been in love with Star Citizen since ever. It's been actually my dream for all along. When I started learning character art, this is what I wanted to work. When I started here, one of the things people were making fun of me, former colleagues were like, "Oh great, Andre, you just signed a contract to make hair for a game. Everyone wears a helmet." And that made me think. Rest assured, nowadays, I'm proud to log into Star Citizen and just see that a lot of people is now wearing their hairs and not the helmets. When I got here, the first thing was to try not to scrap everything that was made. Obviously, there was a lot of things that were properly made that just wouldn't fit for every purpose that we wanted. The first hair I created took me a bit of time. The first results were kind of disappointing. I was still learning the tools, learning the process, learning the new engine that we use. But after like 3 weeks, I managed to create one hair. We finally took it to a meeting. My first time in front of CR. I actually made sure I read everything that CR has written about hair that was on our register, so I knew what he wanted. I think that was kind of smart because it had an impact on him immediately. The next morning after that meeting, I wake up with a message on our creative chat saying something, how happy he was that we had finally someone that was tackling hair in the way that he wanted. I'm like, all right, okay, we're on the right path, I thought. During this process, Ian actually told me, okay, Andre, what do you need to make this work for both Squadron 42 and Star Citizen? And I'm like, he wanted to have 70 hairs from February till December so that we can do the first chapters of Squadron 42. Doing my maths really fast, if I was to do it myself, it would take like 2 years. Even if I take like 3 to 5 days per hair, normally a hair before I arrived was taking 20 to 40 days. The only solution was to hire more hands, to hire more people, and I needed people that would hit the ground running. It had to be people that I knew that could do the work. And in that sense, I presented the proposal to Ian and to CR. They agreed to everything, and that's how we did it. We basically put the guys in. Instead of 70 hairs, by December we had 130 hairs because we did not only do the Squadron ones, we actually revamped the character customizer. We added beards, which weren't even in the plan back then. It was a bet, a risky bet, but I took the process under my wing. I grabbed the guys, and it worked. So, and for that, I got some praise and got some recognition in the company, which comes with the risk that I've taken, of course. So where do we start with the hair? There must be an idea first, an intention, of course. Star Citizen is a bit different from Squadron. In Squadron, we're trying to do digital clones. Obviously, in that case, we're going to take as much pictures, as much references of the real person and try to mimic that into the video game. As for Star Citizen, which is a bit more broad, we sometimes require a concept, sometimes we have a more broader idea that we want to go. We are production artists, we are not concept artists, so that's not what we do. What we really need to work is that the idea comes solid at us and it's very clear what's intended. Whatever references we can use, we make a mood board, and from there we start our own development. It's important to understand that the system that I implemented here, it kind of removes from the artist the ability to mess it up, in the sense that I control the textures and the shaders, so that means the beginning of the process and the ending of the process. I've tested them, I make sure they work, and so I give to the artist the pleasurable part of just doing the asset itself, and therefore there's no fruit salad. What we want is basically a quality that is standard, that stays the same throughout the game, and if I gave them the ability to create their own textures, we would have hairs, some would be very thick, some would be very thin, some would be different, and they would render different. So I removed these two parts of the process out of the equation by sorting it myself, giving them only the pleasurable part. I don't have any other word for it. Sounds kinky, doesn't it?
He's not wrong.
Enjoyable, I guess. Making hair for games, there's a lot of limitations to it. Our game being fast-paced and all, MMO. The way to keep it performant and the way to keep it working is by trying to establish limits of how far you can go. When I started, I remember the lead tech artist telling me, Andre, there's no limit to what you can do, just go. You know, there's no budget of try count, there's no budget. And I'm like, how can that be? I mean, I've been doing games for a while, and there is limitations, okay? He was just letting me be free enough to create and letting me establish the limit so that they can then adapt. I was very conservative. We all have performant hairs. Some in Squadron 42 are a bit heavier because we just need to hit that quality bar, but mostly are all very performant. What you do is you just use what you need and you don't use what you don't need, basically.
What are you working on for 2025?
2025 comes with creatures and more hairs for the character customizer. That's the main thing. There's also armors that are going to start to have a bit of hair. Hair, not hair, human hair, but you know, types of fur or types of synthetic hair. So we created a lot of hairs which are recognizable. We were trying to break barriers. The character customizer is like this nowadays because we were trying to push the shader and see where we could go. Tools programmers and shader programmers were coming to me and say, hey Andre, I didn't know our shader could do this type of things. And as I got this type of feedback, I was, okay, let's push this and see how far we can go. And so we have a bit of a range which is a bit too wide for now in terms of hairs that we're using. One of the last meetings with CR regarding this aspect, he told me, Andre, what we need now is Jared's hair, is Andre's hair. Move away from the outrageous, move away from the military hairstyles. That's the direction for now, to get established a good solid base of hairs. And on the creatures, we're going a bit wilder now. We're starting to push the limits as to fully covered with fur creatures and stuff like that. Before we started with small patches of fur here and there on the creatures, and now we're just making all things together. Well, I'm eager to do hairstyles that will be longer than the limitation that we currently have. Our current limitation is the shoulders, simply because of the way the armors work and the helmets work, and we don't want it to be clipping all along. So I'm really looking at the day that we can make hairs that are longer, and I'd love to do like a big dreadlock that goes straight down. Yeah, so I'm really, really proud of my team. Everything that I said here is basically a teamwork. My team does not involve only the people under me, it also involves the people above that feed me with stuff and that help me get better. The hair story here has been a success, and has been a success because we're working together. That's the only reason. I wouldn't be here talking or doing anything. I wouldn't have been at CitizenCon stage without any of them. So that's very clear to me. We are now through a moment that we can create any hairstyle that we want. And I'm very proud of that.
And with more than 30 new hairstyles scheduled to make their way into the Persistent Universe across each remaining patch this year, the options for self-expression in Star Citizen are just one more way 2025 will continue to deliver more content than ever before. Now, I also want to tell you about this new Squadron 42 Spotlight that's being delivered directly to inboxes right now about every 2 months or so. It comes with timed exclusives, never before seen visuals, audio files, story information, all that kind of stuff included. So don't forget to check your inboxes for that, and then of course opt in through the account settings on the website if you really want that content before everyone else. And then of course for those of you with friends, nobody here, with friends thinking about trying out Star Citizen, our very first free fly of the year starts today with 6 vehicles to choose from. The universe truly is better with friends, or so I'm told. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. As always, thanks for letting us share the people and process of game development with you, and we'll see you all here next week. It's WrestleMania weekend.
Not about piloting the most cutting-edge ships, or traveling to the farthest reaches of the universe, forging connections that will last your entire life, fighting to protect your home and loved ones, or even learning what you're truly capable of. Those are just the perks. I'm Commander Ryan Enright. I fly Navy.
I assumed you talked to all rookies that way.
I assumed he talked to all the rookies that way.
Archangel 6, come in.
Go for 6.
I'm getting a faint contact on bearing 287. You picking that up?
Yeah, got it. Scanning now. We're clear. Commercial vessel out of Vega 3. Reminded them that civilian traffic is restricted under lockdown.
Copy that.
Archangel. Archangel. This is Krugeri.
Come back, Krugeri.
Redirect to sector 7 Bravo Echo for immediate tasking.
Copy that. On our way.
I know I just wrote you. But a couple of hours ago, proximity sensors on the other side of the jump got twigged and went dark. The word is it might be that clan that we've been battling with. I guess that last fight didn't scare them off quite like we all hoped it would. Honestly, we've been out here so long, I don't know what to pull for anymore. I just wanted to let you know. I'll write as soon as I can. Stay safe.
Never gets old, does it?
Sir.
Eddies. I used to do the same thing when I was first coming up. Post up to the flight deck whenever I could to watch the launches. Have you seen the F-8s up close?
No, sir.
The thing's a beast. Nimble, too.
12 maneuvering thrusters and 3 mains. It sure sounds like it. Sir.
Captain McLaren to the bridge. Captain McLaren to the bridge.
I saw you apply to the Flight Academy again.
Yes, sir.
Keep your head up. Took me a couple times before I got in.
Thank you, sir.
All gunners. Get your gear and report to your turret. Repeat, all gunners to your turrets.
Oh snap, I forgot to tell. I talked to Watkins in logistics and he said the recon team was wiped out.
Really? Then why are we sitting here? Vandulan's stupid. If they know we know, they would have hit us by now.
Hey, they can take as much time as they want. The longer they wait, more of a chance the 42s will get back.
Well, they can hit whenever.
Hey, there you are.
Hey.
Where's your helmet?
Can't gun without it.
Come on.
Rookie mistake.
I gotta get to my turret.
Got to go up.
Jacobs told me the Vandal tried to board ships, and I haven't been able to sleep since. I heard from my buddy over on Banshee.
I heard we aren't getting any reinforcements.
We've got to send them through, right? We've been getting tuned up for weeks.
It's this Polo Initiative horse shit. High Command's been freaking out about having to make cuts, so everybody's taking hits. Winslow and the Banshee told me they got denied on extra ammo for their main gun.
Almost like the suits on Earth 1 attack. Maybe we should oblige you, you know? The government offers to all.
Have you heard about this show, Lost Squad?
Are they seriously doing another show about the fall of Caliban?
Supposedly out next year.
I'll need you to be a big sister to him. Okay? Take him like Perrin. He's old enough, and teach him what I taught you. And do me a favor. Help your mom. Whatever you can.
Hey. All set? Hey, you get any sleep last night? Yeah, me neither. Oh, bad news. I heard Goofy was assigned to your rig for this last shift, so brace yourself. Your controls are gonna be screwed.
This is Captain McLaren. Sitcon upgraded to orange. All reserve personnel get to your stations.
Looks like this could be it. Hey, good luck. See you up there.
You got it.
God damn it, Goofy, get the hell out of there! So glad you could join us. I want you calibrated and ready to fire in 5, here? I don't know how the hell Goofy uses this thing with those settings. I'm just gonna do a full reset so you can get operational. Just follow the on-screen instructions for the calibration program. Stand by. We'll start with tracking. Since we're out here hunting a Vandal clan, I'll load up one of their ships for you to follow. All set for controlling your turret. Next up, we'll test your firing mechanics. The system projects simulated rounds, so don't worry about friendly fire. Targeting. I'll load up a larger Vandal ship for you to practice targeting specific parts of the enemy. Okay, your targeting is tracking solid, so that should do it. Checking the other gunners, and they seem to be up as well. Everyone up? Marcus, test your tilt. System says it's ticking.
Moving now, sir. Seems fine to me.
Good. All right, people. Eyes open, mouths shut.
Any idea what's happening, sir?
You covering your sector and staying off comms. At least that's what should be happening.
My money's still on the drill.
What'd I just say?
Sorry, sir. About time.
Shut.
Attention, Second Fleet. This is Admiral Bishop. For 6 months now, we have faced an elusive enemy determined to see the Empire burn and every human with it. There have been battles.
There have been losses. Each and every one of you has proven yourself time and again, but today I must ask for more. Today, we fight one last battle. Advanced recon indicates the entire Vanduul fleet has just entered the system. This means a King ship is headed our way. Now, some of you will not survive today, but there will be no time for sorrow. We will have to grieve for them later. Because 2 billion souls in this system hang in the balance. There should be no illusions about what we were up against. In the history of the UEE, a kingship has entered human space a handful of times. Battle of Orion, Siege of Tiber, the fall of Caliban. But we are the Second Fleet. History will remember us differently. We will not have to worry about it being kind, because today we will define ourselves through our actions. We will not lose the system. We will not fall back. We will win, because we have to. We fight today. So in 40 years from now, when you're surrounded by everything and everyone you hold dear, and they ask, what did you do in the Battle of Vega? You can look them in the eye and say, I held the line. Men and women of the Second Fleet, I am proud to stand with you today. Good luck. Bishop out.
Nice speech.
Any word from the recon team?
Not yet.
Let's get into position. Fleet, hold fire until my mark.
Strip safeties from the Goliath. We'll have to hit him close. I want him live on launch.
What are they waiting for?
I thought it would be bigger. Ship's locked, sir. Fleet's ready.
Stand by.
Got one! I got one!
Good kill. Come on, people, keep up the pressure. Another wave. Yeah, I see it. Marking enemy sides. Light him up.
On it! Woo!
Target down. Good kill. Good job, people. So stable. Gauntlet, I got bogeys I can't shake. I need a brush off. You got your pilot. All right, gunners. Protect our fighters. Tracking target. Can't hold out much longer. Damn it, gunners, take out those duels. Thanks for the help, Conker. You guys, get back in there.
Will do.
August, shift your position back and drift 8 degrees off X-axis. That should bring that Moiler into your field of fire. Corvus, redirect to fill the gap and take those gunboats off integrity. Scimitar, your turn to play bait. Banshee, push forward. Let's see how strong their line is. Raiden, you're their support.
Multiple impacts, sir. Could have been capital ship fire.
No, it's too focused. It's more like heavy fighters. Do we have a line on them?
Turrets have been taken out, sir.
Gauntlet, come in. We need you to sweep up some fighters on us.
On it, sir. Get us in close.
Aye, sir.
You're up, turret gunners. We're guarding Bishop here. Make me proud.
Heard the captain? I want those dull ships fried and crispy. Copy?
Aye, Captain. Copy that.
On it, sir.
Let them have it, gunners. It's us or them. Good kill. Those fighters knocked out Gary's shields. Enemy bombers are incoming. Take them out. up.
Outstanding, Reynolds.
Thank you, sir. Good job, crew. I'm picking up Glaives. Take him out. See that? Oh, God. Gotta take out that hunter's small turrets. Got another turret! Heavy fighters incoming. There's too many of them! Waste them. Keep up that fire! Get ready. Corvette's coming around. All gunners, get ready to target the main turret.
Marcus!
Is that Marcus? Can anybody see? Open fire! Take out that main turret! One of my guns is down! All gunners, take out that turret. It's your only target right now. We won't survive another hit.
Turret down!
Tracking multiple inbound boarding spikes. Target and eliminate. We should get the hell out of here! I need help! I need help!
Planetfall. Copy. Forwarding vectors onto the ground forces.
Look at your pad, Argus.
Appreciate it. Could really just do with some fire cleanup. We're taking multiple hits.
335. Break engagement and support.
Sir, briefing now. Charging main guns. Prepping for full spread. Any effects on target?
Countdown. Two hostile captured. Bearing down on us. Copy that. Radius inbound.
Firing again! Getting a weird power spike from the King ship.
Break, Argus, break!
Argus is down. Repeat. Argus is down.
Flight ops. Scramble any available support ships to pick up survivors. This thing is chewing us up, sir.
Break engagement with this destroyer. Align for a run on the King ship.
Weapons. I'm gonna need you to cook up a firing solution on that King ship. Hit him with everything we got.
So, all of our weapons even focused?
Have to do something. Right, Mr. Kraus? The Van Duel aren't gonna blow themselves up.
Yes, sir.
Wait, next time we take a hit, drop our shields an extra 30%.
Hear that, Shields?
Sir.
Navigation.
Sir.
Adjust heading. 10 degrees port.
Aye, sir.
Let's get their attention.
Generator's down, sir. Starboard 4 exposed. Sir.
Hit them again.
Waiting on you, Mr. Kraus.
They're gonna kill us.
Getting power spikes. And charging up the main gun. I guess you got their attention.
up, Cal. You got point.
Copy that. Tally's on me.
Echo Flight, prep for boost.
Let's say hi.
All copy. Tubs at the ready. Stand by for lock.
Ready up, people. Enemy Victor's inbound.
Copy, Doug. You can cover, I can make a run at that shield, Jenny.
Copy. Eddie, Roger, take Charlie and Delta and screen up those fighters. Neil, Bug, you're in main. If you run a double switchback.
Copy that. Tally's maintain vector. I'll clear you a shot.
Got it. All echoes, stay on the ball.
Light him up.
Look out.
Cal, I don't think your ship's got the firepower to take that emitter out.
You might be right. Shield softened up.
Shields up! Report!
Shields are holding. Barely. That shot took out our main thrusters.
No, not us, them.
The Kingship shields are down.
Yes! We don't celebrate until they're dead.
Hit him! Hit him!
Sir, King ship's headed right for us.
Can we evade?
Shot took out the main thruster, sir. I'm trying to get the auxiliaries online.
Getting a rapid increase in the King ship's energy signature. Looks like they're trying to go critical.
Even if we dodge, we won't get clear of the blast range on auxiliary alone. Attention fleet. This is Admiral Bishop. You are ordered to immediately withdraw. I repeat, withdraw. All non-essential personnel are dismissed to abandon ship. If you want to volunteer to stay, we can sure use your help. All right. Tell the gunners to concentrate all the power they've got. Maybe we can take out this King ship before it hits us.
Yes, sir. Logistics. I want every ounce of juice pumped into those guns. If we don't need it to breathe or shoot, I don't want it.
I think I can crouch into that.
Hey, hold the door!
Systems back online. Detected. Depressurizing.
Sealing suit. Warning, oxygen low.
Pressurizing. Pressurized. Gravity online.
was the only one left.
So did I.
Look, I need your help with something. Follow me. We're running low on power, so we have to reroute our energy from our shields to our thrusters to change direction. Take a seat. I need you to steer the ship. Time for your first piloting lesson. We're setting a new course. For that. Ready?
Shields
Go.
offline. Maneuvering systems online.
Good. Hold that. Shifting power back to shields.
Shields
Engaging autopilot.
Corvus! I ordered you to fall back!
Can't do that. You're dead in the water and we can help.
The situation's under control. You order reverse!
You can't kill it. Not before it takes you out. We are boarded and burning. This is the only way.
Well, lock your course and get off that thing. Both of you, clear?
Aye, aye.
Rachel!
I will. Damn it. We're about to have company. I've got to try and divert as much energy as I can to the engines. So I'm gonna need you to hold them off. Go now.
Yes, sir.
Life support and lag are offline. Disabling safeties on the reactor to boost some extra juice. Here they come! Keep it up. Another breach! We're doing good. We've got more fuel coming!
danger. Hit shield 25%.
work. On me, quick!
Warning. Collision imminent.
Almost finished here.
Ejection system offline.
The escape pod door is jacked. I need you to manually override the door. Give me your rifle. I'll cover you. I just need a minute to finish up here. What's the status on the door?
We're good. Down!
Captain!
Sir.
Don't argue. Just do me a favor. Give this to Bishop. Tell him it's all gonna be okay. Tell him it was a good trip.
Warning. Collision imminent.
Get the hell out of here.
Warning. Impact. Warning. Impact. Warning. Impact. Warning. Impact. Warning. Impact.
I said get out of here.
No, I'm not leaving you.
I do solemnly pledge, mind and body, I will defend the Empire with my life.
Your application to the Flight Academy has been reconsidered. Captain McLaren had submitted a letter of recommendation on your behalf before the battle.
Hey, it's fine. It's fine. You're safe.
We may be a small crew, but the work we do matters.
Welcome to the Stanton. I'm Eugene Morrow.
I'm Petty Officer Webster, Chief Mechanic.
This will be your new home.
We got you flying with Lieutenant Commander Colton. He's one of our best.
Sir.
Who the hell are you?
I'm your new wingman, sir. The name's...
You want me to learn your name? You live long enough for me to care.
Baron Actual, you're clear to launch.
Launching in 3, 2, 1.